How did the despotic Lord Dunstamp and his vile vizier, the avaricious Omen Sulk, and the thuggish minions seize power in the once prosperous and peaceful Dunspire? It was just 4 years earlier that, touting a purported threat and putting himself forward as the only one who could save the land, Lord Dunstamp declared an emergency and seized control of the council, the army, the city, and the country, and has not let go. Council members and notable citizens who opposed the new regime disappeared, and the nation's wealth and resources flowed into the hands of Dunstamp and his cronies. The next year, with their own land suffering, Dunstamp touted their manifest destiny to expand and invaded the peaceful land to the north. A land that, when threatened, put up a very stiff resistance, and now have been bogged down in nearly 3 years of costly war. On the seas, the ships out of Dunspire were then given orders to prey piratically on ships of other nations, and now themselves are hunted by all nearby seagoing countries. Casualties high, and replacements needed. More and more have been pressed into the service of the army or navy, especially those resisting Dunstamp's regime in any way. Hunger and privation spread across the land as all resources were eaten up by Dunstamp and Sulk's thievery, or the wars of aggression on land and sea, while rumors of dark powers at the heart of the tyrannical regime started to spread. A nascent underground was also rumored to be forming of outlaws, deserters, those dispossessed or driven out of their homes by the tyrant and his fanatical thugs. It was against this background that the D&D Noir party members were picked up, divested of their belongings, and thrown into the Dunspire dungeon and shackled to the wall where the campaign began. After being abused by the prison guard captain, 2 party members who had secreted thieves' tool upon their persons managed to unlock their shackles and free themselves and the other prisoners. The party got the jump on the hated Inquisitor, the wicked wardress, and managed to overcome her and her 3 thuggish bodyguards who had come to interrogate them, stuffing their bodies down the sewer and stealing their weapons. They took a cryptic scroll from the wardress's body and passed their keys to other prisoners, including Erin the Dwarven Bard, famous for his protest songs, and Mother Smith, vengeful widow, taking their chances escaping through the prison. The Sword Noir party instead opted for the sewers. Sam, the Danger Dwarf, tapping down the bodies, which a giant gator gorged on, charmed by charismatic sorceress Luna, not to put the bite on the party, which includes Bren's, Sam the Danger Dwarf fighter, Nikki's charismatic sorceress Luna, Stephen's small giant monk Bria, Charles's very old Air Genese druid Jin, Mars's deep gnome barbarian Bubs, Jay's sly human road Julian, along with a human NPC fellow prisoner enamored of Luna, Rivwan. The long, twisting dark sewers flowing downhill from the citadel, garrison, and prison were foul and full of hazards. Sam was nearly washed away in a literal shitstorm, and the party had to battle through black puddings. Bubs and Rivwan were both gravely ill by sewage sickness, and Sam near death from multiple wounds and injuries. Punched by the prison captain, hit by the wardress Thug Maul, the fall into the sewers, and bludgeoned by acidic pudding. The sewers were narrowing to a grate, while a ledge appeared to the right. Turtle and reptilian faces peered down at them. A wave of sewage pushed them along as more black pudding and green slime converged. They managed to scramble out of the sewer with some help from the turtle. Bren's danger dwarf on 3 hit points, diving back into the black pudding and green slime maelstrom to help rescue the eel. And, in Riv1's case, grievously wounded party members at 1 point. On the ledge, they managed to convince the turtle and reptiles that they were not government soldiers or guards, a claim boisters when Riv1 presented them with the wardress's head. The reptiles blindfolded the party and led them to and through a secret passage, which led to winding stairs and a holding room with fresh water. Here, the party met Rebecca's halfling cleric Amera, who quickly cured Sam's wounds. Another underground healer, Peter, tended to the eel, giving strange potions to Bubs, who, after a time, appeared cured of the sewage sickness, albeit half zombified. Riv1 appeared dead. Sam, then the others, washed in the clean water. Luna had been carried through the sewage by the giantess Bria, prestidigitated clean. The party were blindfolded again and led down a passage, eventually to a larger room where they met Xavier, an earnest paladin, Shandar, a wizard, and the turtle who introduced herself as Gulch. The party introduced themselves and, aided by the wardress's head, convinced the trio that they were enemies of the government. They ate a meal and rested, socializing with the underground members. They noted some stayed hooded and kept their distance. People of all backgrounds, family and children. A mild celebration for the death of the wardress, who had tortured resistance members, ensued. Riv1 returned, but proved to be a zombie, still enamored of Luna. Peter was a necromancer, and after some heated discussion directed zombie Riv1 to follow Luna. The party convinced the underground that they would fight on their behalf, and were outfitted with some weapons and armor, and the promise to rid the underground of problematic goblins and their masters in neighboring caves who had been preying on the resistance members and family, thought to be responsible for the recent missing children. The party showed the wardress's scroll to Shandar, who suggested showing it to the very venerable dragon Zolazerum. Before setting out to the Goblin Cave, Shandar, Xavier, and Gulch led the party to the elderly dragon's cave. In the hidden cave, where the 3 resistance leaders lead the party with the wardress's scroll, a venerable ancient lizard stirred, one eye opening, then both wide, as he spied the wardress's scroll placed in front of him by the earnest paladin Xavier.
The 7,
he gasped, then paused.
They have truly returned to this plane. The deceiver and the enslaver are in Dunspire. I've felt it, but thought it a horrible nightmare.
He looks at the 6th blank panel and chuckles.
She missed one.
He collapses, still chuckling. After a time, he lifts his head with difficulty, fixing his rheumy-eyed gaze with wonder at the party.
7 for the 7. 7 came from the 1. 7 are 1.
He wheezes as Chrono Dragon's scale copper golden light emanates from his ancient reptilian form. He raises his head one last time with difficulty to fix his gaze on everyone in the cave, croaking out the following with urgency.
No one is helpless. No one is beyond helping. It is good to seek out those who need us and do what we can for them. There is nothing that can't be done if we set our minds to doing it. Don't be sad. Be happy. We have another day to do what needs doing. We only have so many of them.
Coughing, he tries to raise a wizened paw before closing his eyes to rest a bit, then concludes.
There is no light without darkness, and this troubles many of us. But without it, how would we tell one from the other? We spend half of every day in darkness. Surely we should make our peace with it. Both tell us that time and light and darkness move in cycles. When darkness comes, a traveler learns to be brave, for they know the light will return. As this dark age comes, hold the light inside. That's where it lives anyway. There are forces of darkness, and beings of darkness, and they are real, and have always been around us. They're part of the dance, just as you and I are.
The ancient lizard opens his mouth to speak once more.
As this dark age comes, just as you would at night, hold the light inside you. Others, I can tell you, have already learned to do the same. In time, you will learn to recognize the light in yourself and in others. In this way, you will find each other. Together, you will make the light stronger. This truth I know as sure as the dawn. Darkness will always yield to light when the light is strong.
The venerable lizard lowered his head and closed his eyes for the last time as the golden copper light dissipates into the air. The party were led to the edge of the goblin-infested caves by the underground leaders. They entered the warren of the caves, following tracks spotted by Jinn. They followed strange sounds to a vicious, weird dog, with jaws of a bulldog, and body of a greyhound, and two mismatched back legs, that attacked Sam before being dispatched by a crossbow bolt. They moved along the caves, following the tracks. With Sam's long, dark vision and alertness, he spotted a goblin ambush before they spotted the party. They pushed zombie Rivwan forward, who was cut to pieces by goblin spears and arrows, dying again with an anguished Luna on his lips. The party set upon the goblins, whose hiding spots were revealed by their attack on Rivon, cutting them to pieces efficiently. A memorable moment. Sam, speared by a goblin, pulled the spear out of himself and killed the goblin with it. Pulling further spears out of Rivon, a small city guard badge hidden in the clothing fell out. The party made its way further into the dark cave, following faint footprints and drag marks, where faint chanting could be heard, as the curtain fell on Session 2. And that is where we pick up for Session 3. Sword Noir is based on a homebrew role-playing campaign created and run by David Aboussafy. It was performed by Bren MacDonald and written by David Aboussafy. This episode was produced by Screaming Hermit Podcasts.